The day we bought the house on Willow Lane felt like the beginning of everything. After 8 years of marriage, countless disappointments, and 2 heartbreaking miscarriages, Mark and I were finally moving into a place we could call our own. The house wasn't perfect. The white paint was peeling in places, the wooden floors creaked with every step, and the garden looked as though it hadn't been touched in years. But it was ours. I remember standing in the doorway on the first evening, holding the keys in my hand while sunlight poured through the dusty windows. "We made it," Mark whispered. For the first time in a long while, I believed him. The first few weeks were busy. We painted walls, unpacked boxes, and argued over where furniture should go. It felt normal. Peaceful. Then I found the letters. I was cleaning the attic one Saturday afternoon when I noticed a loose floorboard beneath an old trunk. Curious, I pried it open. Underneath was a small wooden box. Inside were dozens of yellowed envelopes tied together with a faded blue ribbon. Each one was addressed to a woman named Eleanor. I assumed they belonged to the previous owners. At first, I intended to leave them alone. Then I read one. Just one. The letter was dated March 14, 1987. "My dearest Eleanor, I know you think I abandoned you. I know everyone believes I left willingly. But if you're reading this, then perhaps one day the truth will find its way home. I never stopped loving you." I stared at the words. There was no signature. Only the letter. And suddenly I wanted to know more. That evening, I showed the box to Mark. He shrugged. Probably some old love story. But something about the letters didn't feel romantic. It felt unfinished. Over the following days, I read every single one. They told the story of a young couple deeply in love. Eleanor and a man named Thomas. They planned to marry. They dreamed of children. They dreamed of growing old together in that very house. Then the letters changed. Thomas wrote about pressure from Eleanor's family. About secrets. About someone trying to separate them. Then, abruptly, the letters stopped. Goodbye. No explanation. Nothing. The final letter simply said, "If anything happens to me, know that I fought for us until the very end." I couldn't stop thinking about it. Who were these people? What happened to Thomas? Why were the letters hidden? The next week, I visited the local library. An elderly librarian helped me search old newspaper archives. What I found made my stomach twist. In June 1987, a local man named Thomas Walker had disappeared. No body was ever found. The case remained unsolved. His fiancée, Eleanor Hayes. The same Eleanor. I felt chills run down my arms. That night I barely slept. The next morning, I drove to the address listed for Eleanor's family. The house was still standing. An elderly woman answered the door. When I mentioned Eleanor's name, tears instantly filled her eyes. "I'm her sister," she said quietly. We sat together for nearly 3 hours. She told me everything. Eleanor and Thomas had been inseparable. But Eleanor's father hated him. Thomas came from a poor family. Her father wanted her to marry someone wealthy. Weeks before their wedding, Thomas vanished. The police suspected he simply ran away. Eleanor never believed it. She spent years searching, waiting, hoping. Eventually she married someone else. Not because she stopped loving Thomas. Because she was exhausted from grieving someone she couldn't bury. She died 5 years ago, her sister told me. Still wearing the engagement ring Thomas gave her. I drove home with tears in my eyes. The story haunted me. It should have ended there. But it didn't. A month later, Mark and I began renovating the garden. Near the old oak tree at the back of the property, our shovel struck something solid. At first we thought it was a pipe. Then we uncovered a rusted metal container. Inside were documents, photographs, and a journal. The journal belonged to Eleanor's father. As I read it, my hands started shaking. Page after page detailed his hatred for Thomas. His determination to keep them apart. Reached June 2nd, 1987. The problem has been handled. Eleanor see him again. I felt sick. The journal eventually revealed the truth. Thomas hadn't abandoned Eleanor. He had been paid to leave town by Eleanor's father. Manipulated. Forced to disappear. The money had been hidden in the container along with the journal. Thomas left believing Eleanor had chosen her family over him. Eleanor spent the rest of her life believing Thomas abandoned her. Neither of them knew the truth. Not once. Not for a single day. Two people spent decades suffering because of one man's selfishness. I cried harder than I had in years. Not because of the mystery. Because of the waste. The lost years. The stolen future. Mark sat beside me on the porch that night. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally he reached for my hand. Imagine loving someone that much. I looked at him. We do. His eyes softened. And for a moment I understood something. Love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about choosing them over and over despite fear, hardship, pride, and pain. Thomas and Eleanor never got that chance. Someone took it from them. A few months later, with help from local historians, we tracked down Thomas. He was alive. Living 3 states away. 82 years old. When he learned the truth, he broke down crying. So did I. I expected anger. Instead, he asked only one question. Did Eleanor know I loved her? I couldn't answer immediately. The lump in my throat was too large. Finally, I nodded. Every day of her life. Thomas closed his eyes. And smiled through tears. We eventually placed the letters, journal, and photographs in the town museum. A small exhibit now tells their story. Visitors stop to read it. Some cry. Some hold their partner's hand a little tighter. As for Mark and me, the house on Willow Lane gave us more than a home. It reminded us that time is precious. That misunderstandings can destroy entire lives. And that love, when left unspoken, can become the heaviest regret of all. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on the porch and look toward the old oak tree. I think about Thomas. I think about Eleanor. And I hope that somewhere beyond this world, they finally found the ending they deserved. If you like this story, please leave a comment below.